Today on the program, the 5 most important upcoming models for Peugeot, Alfa Romeo, Opel, and Jeep have been made official. We will also see why you shouldn't buy a Chinese car. MG is going on the offensive with 2 new models, and if a zombie apocalypse worries you, Rezvani already has the solution. Last week, Stellantis announced its big strategic plan. The new boss, Antonio Filosa, unveiled his plan called Fastlane 2030, a name that sounds like an energy drink from a gas station, but actually hides a colossal investment of 60 billion euros, and above all, a mysterious image that conceals several new models. Let's talk about what really interests us: Peugeot, Alfa Romeo, Jeep, Opel. What are the new releases that will make us excited or cry by 2030? Let's start with the first one. The Lion Peugeot is now the European driving force for Stellantis. The head of the brand, Alain Favet, has promised 5 new models by 2030, all based on the brand new Stellantis One platform. But be careful, the strategy is quite bold. The 208 and 2008 currently exist in both gasoline and electric versions. And starting in 2027, Peugeot will launch brand new generations of the i208 and i2008 fully electric and packed with technology. And what will they do with the current models? Well, they will simply stop their current electric versions and keep the gasoline versions in the catalog. Next, we'll get the 4th generation of the 308 expected in 2028, which will remain hybrid and electric. And finally, a descendant of the 408. The current one is a car that nobody really understood. At Alfa Romeo, they're teasing us with the big comeback of the Giulietta. The last time we saw that name was in 2020. The new one should arrive before 2030, also based on the Estella One platform. Let's move on to Jeep. The Renegade, that nice little cube made in Melfi, bowed out in Europe at the end of 2025. The end of its production left a huge gap in the lineup. But during Investor Day, a slide showed a mysterious SUV, massive, boxy, with a windshield as steep as a brick wall. So, is this the new Renegade? Rumors say yes, and that it could arrive in 2027. It will feature hybrid and fully electric powertrains, thanks to the famous Estella One platform once again. Finally, a quick word about Opel. An image showed a vehicle with a long hood and a sleek profile, totally spectacular, except that we know for sure that Opel is preparing a compact electric SUV based on the platform of the Chinese manufacturer Li Auto Motor, the B10 to be precise. So is this sleek concept a real promise or just a smokescreen? We'll have the answer in a few months. But one thing is certain, with 60 billion on the table, Antonio Filosa has no intention of just playing a minor role. It remains to be seen if the customers will show up, if trust will be restored, or if they'll prefer to see what's happening with the competition. Now let's discuss a touchy subject, one that stings and makes you feel like you've struck the deal of the century until reality hits you like a cinder block from the 3rd floor. We'll discuss Chinese electric cars, and more specifically why buying one today is probably one of the worst financial ideas you could have, right after investing all your savings in a VHS tape factory. In recent years, Chinese manufacturers have arrived in Europe with the subtlety of a steamroller, slashed prices, tons of features, and leasing offers that could make you cry with joy. But here's the thing, there's a catch, a big catch with very sharp teeth. As soon as these cars leave the showroom, they lose value faster than a campaign promise the day after the election. Let's look at the numbers. According to Deutsche Automobil Treuhand, the German vehicle assessment organization, Chinese electric and plug-in hybrid cars depreciate twice as fast as the industry average. And that creates a general panic. Owners end up with a financial black hole on their hands. Manufacturers risk taking a hit with their guaranteed buyback programs. As for leasing companies, they are horrified to discover that the cars returned to them are worth barely more than scrap metal. Christian Schussler from Arval, Germany sums it up perfectly. The residual value gap is fundamentally a matter of trust. Without demand in the used market, there's no stable price. It's as simple as that. But why such a disaster? Martin Weiss from DAT has pinpointed the issue. It's not enough to launch a good product, he says. You have to provide support afterwards. and that's where the problem lies. Nearly half of Germans think that several of these brands will have disappeared within 5 years. The irony of the story is that what makes these brands strong is also their greatest weakness. I'm talking about China's speed. This ability to innovate and release new models at lightning speed. It's fantastic for innovation, yes, but for your wallet, it's deadly. The latest model you buy today will be considered an obsolete antique in 6 months. So it's hard to maintain a decent value when the manufacturer itself is constantly making its own lineup outdated. At MG, they're going on the offensive with 2 new models, the IM5 and the IM6, and now they want to sit at the table with the big players. They want to compete with Tesla, Xpeng, and even our sacred German sedans, and for that, they're coming in with the IM Motors divisions. So what exactly are these IM5 and IM6? Well, to be completely honest, they're not really fresh out of the oven. In China, they've already been on the road for a year or two under the names IML6 and LS6. MG simply took a screwdriver, removed the Chinese badge, screwed on an MG Octagon instead, and shipped them off to Europe. But make no mistake, behind this rebadging operation lies some absolutely astonishing technology. Most versions are built on an 800-volt architecture, which means you can plug this beast into an ultra-fast charger and go from 10 to 80% charge in 17 minutes. And if you go for the performance version, the car throws 751 horsepower at you. That's enough to do 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds. And with the more sensible long-range version, with its 407 horsepower, you're promised up to 655 kilometers of range. Inside, it's just as crazy. You're greeted by a 26-inch panoramic screen. There are 20 speakers, and on the IM5, they've even installed 4-wheel steering. As a result, this nearly 5-meter-long giant has a turning radius of 9.98 meters. It turns in a tighter circle than a Volkswagen Polo. But, and that's a big but, Europe has decided to heavily tax Chinese electric cars. For SAIC, the parent company of MG, the bill is steep, a surcharge that comes close to 38 on top of the usual 10. In the United Kingdom, the IM5 starts at around 46,000 euros. But in France, for the launch planned in July 2026, these theoretical prices might skyrocket because of those well-known tariffs. Unless MG carries out its cunning plan to assemble its cars directly in Europe to get around the tax. Whether the European public will pay over 50,000 euros for these cars is still uncertain. And finally, let's discuss a problem we all face. You're taking the kids to school when, out of nowhere, nuclear apocalypse strikes. Zombies are invading the streets, armed militias are blocking the roundabouts, and worst of all, someone has triggered an electromagnetic pulse that just fried the touchscreen of your hybrid SUV. What can you do? Well, until now you were doomed. But rest assured, a group of cheerful madmen based in California has just found the solution. Let me introduce you to the Rezvani Fortress. They took a Ford F-150 Raptor and modified it so much that it makes a Leclerc tank look like a golf cart. From the outside, the entire original body of the Raptor has been stripped off and replaced with military-grade armored panels, rough-hewn, all mounted on off-road tires that can reach 40 inches. But that's not the craziest part. The craziest part is what's hiding under the hood. Stock, you get the Raptor's 450 horsepower twin-turbo V6. That's good, that's reasonable. But if you check the right option, Rezvani drops in a 5-liter supercharged V8, pumping out 850 horsepower and nearly 900 newton-meters of torque. However, the real madness of this vehicle isn't in its engine, but in its list of options. That's where the Fortress shifts from the tough pickup category to full-blown clinical paranoia. For the modest sum of an extra $150,000, you can get the tactical package. It includes military-grade composite armor, bulletproof glass, and underbody protection against explosives. The fuel tank and battery are wrapped in Kevlar. And if you're really worried about your morning commute, you can add electrified door handles to zap anyone who dares to come close. You can also have a smokescreen generator activated by a button, blinding strobe lights, and, this is not a joke, an integrated pepper spray dispenser built into the bodywork. The interior, paradoxically, looks like a luxury tea room. Rezvani kept the Raptor's cabin but covered it in plush leather with 10 color choices. You can even get an optional starry headliner like a Rolls-Royce for $6,250. It's charming. You can gaze at the fake stars while the real ones are hidden by radioactive fallout. There's also the famous security surveillance vault pack, which gives you military-grade gas masks, a hypothermia kit, and a first aid kit. So how much does this privilege of surviving the apocalypse in style cost? The base price is $285,000. But if you want the big V8, the armor, and the gadgets of a sociopathic James Bond, the bill soars to over $580,000. And there will only be 100 units produced. Is it absurd? Totally. Is it obscene? Absolutely. It's ridiculous. It's loud. It's excessively expensive. But if zombies ever show up tomorrow, we know which car you need to own. Thank you all for watching this new video. Don't hesitate to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything. Bye.